Hi, I'm Lindsay with the Saskatoon Public Library. I'm here today on Treaty 6 territory to share with you an excerpt from this book, Hoping for Home, Stories of Arrival. This is an anthology, and the excerpt that I am going to read to you today is from beloved Canadian author Jean Little. So Jean Little herself immigrated to Canada from Formosa, which is now called Taiwan, in 1939 when she was 7 years old, just before World War II broke out. It was a sort of reverse immigration for a girl who looked Canadian but knew so little of life in Canada. So she writes this in the form of diary entries, and her main character is Hattie. The description is Hattie has lived her whole life in Formosa, though her parents are Canadian. When her family moves back to Canada, there is so much to notice, and so much that is different from the small island where she grew up. Monday, July 31st, 1939. This morning, Mother said how excited she was to be coming home to Canada. I said, "It's not my home." "Poor Hattie," Mother said. Then she went to the cabin and fetched this exercise book. She wants me to write a diary for 1 month about what it is like coming home to Canada. I said I would because I am sick of being stuck on this ship with nothing to do. Tuesday, August 1st, 1939. I asked Mother how I should start, and she said, why not begin with a list of what makes Formosa feel like home? So here goes. Home is our missionary compound in Taipei. It has high walls and a big gate with flags above it, the rising sun for the Japanese and the Union Jack for the rest of us. I feel special when I walk through the gate, as though the compound belongs to me. Home is our big house with its wide verandas where we play. Home is our Amma. She cried when we said goodbye. She came when I was a baby. I am 10 now. She stayed to take care of Jonathan, who is 8, and then Will, who just turned 3. Now, John and I do lessons with Mother. In Canada, we'll go to regular school with the other children. Home is food, too. In Canada, Daddy says they don't have mangoes and lychees and papayas. They don't eat with chopsticks. We don't eat with them all the time either, but we do whenever we have proper Chinese food. It is time to go to the dining room for dinner, but I will be back. This is interesting. After dinner. Will wanted rice pudding for dessert, but when he found out it had no raisins in it, he cried. What a baby! John and I laughed at him, and Daddy sent us away from the table. Daddy keeps talking about war. I do not understand it. I asked Mother if we were in a war, and she said no, but that Daddy is worried about the way things are going in Europe. I do not understand any better. Home is water buffaloes and rickshaws and mountains and lilies growing wild, and people pointing at us sometimes and saying things like, "Look at her big feet." We pretend we don't know what they're saying. The boys just drag me up on deck because, very far away, you can see land. It has been a long time since we saw anything but the Pacific Ocean. Right now, the land is only a thin blue smudge far away. Sometimes a high wave hides it, and then you see it again. Canada. I turned my back and caught Mother and Daddy gazing at it and grinning. They were holding hands. I felt left out. Wednesday, August 2nd, 1939. The land looks real now. We will get there today. We will dock in Vancouver and then go by train to Toronto. I asked if it was like Avonlea, and Mother and Daddy laughed at me. Toronto is a big city, they say. Avonlea is a made-up village, not a real place. Will I find a bosom friend like Diana Barry in Toronto? I have never had one. There were only a couple of boys my age in the compound, no girls. No more lifeboat drills, thank goodness. I was scared they would lower me into a lifeboat and it would float away, leaving Mother behind. I just thought of another thing. Home is chewing on a stalk of sugar cane. Mother says they chew gum in Canada. After we get off this ship, we are staying overnight with friends of Daddy's. Then we will go on a train across Canada. We will stop in Regina to visit relations. Will they all want to kiss us? I don't like being kissed by people I don't know. I would rather shake hands or bow. I don't even know what to say first to Canadians. Do you say, "How do you do?" or just, "Hello," or "Good morning"? Saying hi is rude. I asked Daddy about this, and he said any of those would be fine. There is not one right thing. I like the way it was in Taipei. There was one proper thing. Christians always said Pangan, which means peace. But there is no special greeting for church people in Canada. Later. We had to pack everything up so we would be ready to go ashore. I hated shutting the trunk lid down on my dolls, Natasha and Emily. It was better when I laid them on their stomachs so they could not see it coming. People kept stopping packing to check on Canada. The boys dance about and cheer. I am so glad my whole family is coming to Canada with me. I really do know they are the most important part of home. Thursday, August 3rd, 1939. We are here in Vancouver at Daddy's friend's house. It is much smaller than our house in Taipei. We call them Aunt and Uncle, even though they aren't. When we got off the ship, Uncle Ralph grabbed my mother and swung her right off her feet. She laughed. Will and John thought it was funny, but it made me want to pull her away. Is this how Canadians act? His wife, Aunt Thelma, smiles with her lips shut. You never see her teeth, but her eyes are nice. At lunch, she gave me plain bread and butter when I didn't want the salmon sandwiches she had already. I love bread and butter. Mother was all excited because we were going to drink fresh milk. We hated it. Canned milk is so much better. Mother was disgusted with us. After lunch, they took us to a park to play. It was strange seeing so many white people. I caught sight of one girl with bright red hair, just like Anne Shirley. The other thing that is amazing is hearing everybody talking English. I asked Mother if they didn't speak other languages here, and she said some did. But here, most people spoke English, just as most people in Formosa spoke Chinese. Friday, August 4th, 1939. On the way home, we stopped at a drugstore and had ice cream sodas. I never tasted anything so good. They put 2 scoops of ice cream in a big tall glass and then some syrup and then squirt on some fizzy stuff, which fills up the glass. They give you a straw and a long-handled spoon so you can get the last drop of ice cream. Mine was strawberry. Yummy. When we got home, Daddy and Uncle Ralph were listening to the news on their big radio again and talking about war coming. A lot of grown-ups say there might be a war, but lots of others, like Mother, say it won't ever happen. I don't think I have ever met a German. I must ask Daddy if he knows any. Saturday, August 5th, 1939. Being on the train was exciting at first, but soon we got tired and too hot. Then Mother got out our paper fans from Formosa. Even the flower pictures on the back looked cool. Waving them cheered us up. We are going to sleep on the train tonight in curtained-off berths. Each one has a little window. I plan to stay awake and watch the world passing by. I have never seen the night move that way. We've only ridden on trains in the daytime. It is hard to imagine it. Sunday, August 6, 1939. I stayed awake a long time. I was right about it being amazing to watch the night moving past my window. It was my own window, which felt special. I saw farmhouses with one light on, and big dark barns, and little stations, and once I saw a wild animal running across a field. It might have been a fox. The stars in the prairie sky look bigger than usual, and they make different shapes here in Canada. Monday, August 7th, 1939. Mother has started reading Little Lord Fauntleroy to us. Even Will likes it because it has good pictures. Cedric sounds like a sissy, but he isn't. John said he would never call his mother dearest, and Mother pretended to be hurt. I should think of something new for my list, but I am too hot and fidgety. Mother calls feeling twitchy having the Peasley Weasleys in the G-Jams. I don't know how to spell it. Tuesday, August 8th, 1939. The prairies just go on and on and on with nothing surprising. But at sunrise, the sky grows enormous and streaked with rose and gold. Daddy says it is breathtaking, and he is right. Next stop, Regina, the conductor is shouting. I can't write more. Wednesday, August 9th, 1939. Great Aunt Harriet calls me Harriet Darling. I like being called Hattie better, but I don't say so. When Mother's parents died, Aunt Harriet took care of her and her brothers. Mother says she never made them feel like a burden. I do wish she didn't keep patting me on the top of my head. The boys and I slept in the bedroom that was Mother's when she was my age. Aunt Harriet gave me a book which used to be Mother's. It is called The Secret Garden and is by the same writer who wrote Little Lord Fauntleroy. I am saving it until I have room. I don't have to share with my little brothers. Some cousins came after supper. They wanted us to say things in Chinese. John and Will did, and the cousins laughed. They went on pestering me. I said, "You are bad children," in Chinese. I would not translate what I said. Mother laughed. When Daddy got the grown-ups talking about Hitler, the cousins left. I am glad they don't live in Toronto. Our train leaves very early tomorrow morning. Thursday, August 10th, 1939. Before we went to sleep last night, Daddy took us outside in our night clothes and showed us how to find the Big Dipper. John and I saw it, but I think Will just pretended. We will soon go through Winnipeg. I am too sleepy to write any more. Much later. I slept through Manitoba, most of it anyway. We are in Ontario at last, but Daddy says we still have a long way to go. Canada is so much bigger than Formosa. It is wild here with big rocks and little lakes and lots of evergreen trees. The birds are different too. We will get to Toronto tomorrow morning. We finished Fauntleroy, and now we are going to start Winnie the Pooh. Piglet reminds me of Will. It is not a Canadian book. Daddy says he will find us when we get to Toronto. We have learned all the words to O Canada and God Save the King, so we will be able to sing them when we start school. It is not our native land, though. Friday, August 11th, 1939. Next stop, Toronto. Daddy's sisters will meet the train. I must put my book away or I might lose it. Saturday, August 12th, 1939. We have 3 aunts and a grandmother in Toronto. They are Daddy's mother and his sisters. The aunts all came to meet us at Union Station. In Daddy's stories, they are children, but they are not children now, and it is hard to believe they ever were. They laugh a lot, and they tease Daddy as if he were a little boy still. The station is like a palace. Maybe not quite, but so big and grand. They took us home to their apartment and fed us. They showed us their balcony where they watched the King and Queen ride by when they were here in May. I sat right here and she waved to me, Grandma said. You should have stood at attention, John told her, as though he were a grown-up and she was just a little girl. Everybody laughed at him, everybody but Mother. She never makes fun of us in public. They talked about the war coming too, and about the quintuplets. Now Mother and John want me to come and play Chinese checkers with them. Later. I lost. I forgot to write about the quints. The aunts gave us some pictures of the quintuplets. They call them the quints. They are 5 girls all born at once, like twins or triplets. Aunt Rose showed us lots of pictures of them, which she had pasted into a scrapbook. Imagine having 4 sisters who were all my age and looked like me and had the same birthday. It might be fun once in a while, but more often like a nightmare. How would you know who you were? Sunday, August 13th, 1939. We have moved into our new house. It is a rented half-house on Bedford Road. You can hear the people next door through the wall. But it is tall. There are 4 floors if you count the cellar. I have a little room of my own. It feels a bit lonely. I am used to sharing with Will. There is no proper garden to this house, just a space they call the backyard. But there is a vacant lot just up the road with one great climbing tree. Today was Sunday, but it was not a day of rest. Monday, August 14th, 1939. We went to Eaton's to get school clothes. It was huge and filled with things I had never seen before. Part of it is a bookstore, and all of the books are in English. Daddy found us a Canadian one called Beautiful Joe, and he also found Tarzan of the Apes for the boys. Tuesday, August 15th, 1939. I am too busy these days to think about Formosa much. People come and go. There are horses in the street pulling delivery wagons. John takes some sugar cubes when he can get any. I have started reading The Secret Garden. Mary Lennox is like me in lots of ways. She has to leave India, and everything is different for her when she comes to England. I like the story a lot. Wednesday, August 16th, 1939. My doll Emily came all the way from Formosa safely, and then that awful, horrible Will threw her out the window and her head is broken. I was teasing him, but that was not a good enough reason. Her eyes came out, and I cannot stop crying. Thursday, August 17th, 1939. Aunt Margaret took Emily to the doll hospital. They say they can make her good as new. Then Aunt Em gave me a new doll. She is as big as a real baby, and she has the loveliest smile and big blue eyes. If you push a place in her back, she says, Mama. She has pink clothes and white socks and shoes. I'm naming her Bella because that means beautiful. Friday, August 18th, 1939. I am forgetting to write about what makes Canada different. Well, one thing is the streets. In Formosa, there aren't sidewalks and stoplights. The road there is full of people in rickshaws, on carts, in cars, driving their water buffaloes, children playing, people carrying buckets on the yoke that sits on their shoulders. They carry water or vegetables sometimes, once in a while a sedan chair. People laugh and call out to each other and shriek at the children and make a lot more noise than Canadians. Canadians don't talk to strangers much, but in Formosa, nobody is a stranger. Here, people obey more rules, and the houses all have numbers and sit in a row. Bedtime. We are in bed, but it is still light out. I don't know why we cannot stay up until it gets dark. It is like the poem Bed in Summer by Robert Louis Stevenson. He knew just how I feel. When it gets dark, I still am homesick here. Homesick for Taiwanese night sounds. We used to hear the lions in the zoo sometimes, and Geta clacking along the streets. You don't see clogs like that in Canada, or hear them. Toronto has some noise, but not so friendly. Saturday, August 19th, 1939. The people in the other half of our house are moving out. New people are coming. Aunt Rose took us to Sunnyside where we went swimming in a pool. There was a high slide that went down into the water, and a big kid pushed John so that he fell from the top. He landed halfway down on a metal rod and scraped his back, and then he slid off and fell to the ground. I was furious and I cried, but John didn't. He just gritted his teeth and told me to stop making such a racket. I was feeling sorry for him one minute and wanting to murder him the next. Aunt Rose made us all come home, and Mother put mercurochrome on his wounds. Sunday, August 20th, 1939. We were going to church this morning when Mother looked at Will. He was crying and he had stuff coming out of his ear, and when Daddy took his temperature, he had a high fever. Poor Will, Mother said. The shoemaker's child goes barefoot. It means that Daddy, being a doctor, should have noticed Will's ear infection, just like a shoemaker should see his child had no shoes. Mother spent all day with him and left me and Daddy to get the meals. John was no help. And that's where I'm going to stop for today. Again, that's from Hoping for Home, Stories of Arrival, an anthology of Canadian writers. Thanks for joining me today. Bye.